Hey everyone, this is the COVID-19 replacement players explanation video. It's just essentially me trying to re-explain what was already in the chat. I know sometimes things get wordy, and so I will try to give examples and kind of work through how it physically works. The first thing I want to say is you're just going to make one list. So I have one list here. You can send that list in a picture, or you can edit the names of the players. I don't want to just type the list because you can edit the list, and while I don't think anyone would try to pull anything shady like that, I just like to avoid it altogether. So either edit the names, and then that'll show up in the chat, and there's no real way to edit that thing popping up in the chat. So like here, Junkyard did these. He can remove this, but this will stay, and there's no way for him to edit that. So that's just kind of the fairest way to do that, I think. But yeah, so I'm going to take a picture of this later today and drop it in the group chat. But it's due by 12:45 Eastern time tomorrow. If you want to get it in earlier, you certainly can, but I understand if you want to wait until the last minute. So here's how this is going to work. I've got a list here, and this is what it would look like if I was trying to replace players in the Superflex, okay? So let's say Aaron Rodgers at 4 o'clock is a COVID positive player right before his 4:25 game. We would go to Jalen Hurts, and if I couldn't get to the computer in time or whatever, I would get Jalen Hurts' points substituted for Aaron Rodgers because he was a COVID-19 player. Or if his game was canceled due to COVID, same thing, I would get Jalen Hurts' points there. Let's say that both Jalen Hurts, let's say the Eagles game is canceled and Aaron Rodgers has COVID. Now we go to Taysom Hill. And so on and so forth down the list until you have a player that is eligible to play who's not a COVID player or a canceled game player. Okay, so now let's go to a situation where I have... So Leonard Fournette would be in my starting lineup. Leonard Fournette is a questionable player with just like an injury. Like he doesn't have COVID or anything like that. What I would do here is I can just, if it's 8 o'clock and we find out he's ruled out, I can just sub him out for any of these players that are available. So Shepard was a 1 o'clock. I wouldn't be able to do him because it's 8 o'clock now. I could do Zach Pascal, whatever. I could do Zay Jones, who's on my list here. And he would just, whoever I take, if they're on this list, to sub in for a player that is not a COVID player, we're just essentially going to remove that player from the list. So let's say I bench Leonard Fournette for, I want the best player on my list here. It's probably going to be Zay Jones because of the lateness of that game. So I would sub him in for Zay Jones, who I'm struggling to find now. There we go. Okay, so now Zay Jones is in. Essentially, we just delete Zay Jones from this list. Oh, actually, Tyler Higbee would have been the better player there. But regardless, the point remains. Okay, so now let's talk about, I have Tyler Lockett in currently who has COVID. We're just going to treat COVID players at this moment in your starting lineup as if they didn't have COVID. Obviously, he does, and he's currently projected for 0. They don't think he's going to play, but we don't know if he's going to clear protocols in time. So what's going to happen is I'm going to leave Tyler Lockett in there regardless. I want Tyler Lockett to play. He's a good player. And so what's going to happen is if he plays, Tyler Lockett plays. I'm happy. If he doesn't play, we're going to take the highest player still available on this list. Again, you can put players from this list in your lineup as you see fit. It's just you can then not add any players to this list. So, for example, I just benched Leonard Fournette because I decided I wanted to start Zay Jones in front of him. I cannot add Leonard Fournette to this list after 12:45 on Sunday. The list is locked. You can take guys from this list and put them in your lineup. You can't take guys in your lineup and put them on this list. I hope that makes sense. I think that's all the notes that I had. And And then just positionally, we're going to try really hard to get the highest player on your list that could possibly fit in your lineup in. And so it's going to be extremely important that you have your latest playing players in flex spots. So for example, earlier today, I had Leonard Fournette up here. So he's an 8 o'clock game. And then Joe Mixon down here at 4:05. And so let's say it's 8 o'clock and I want to play Shepard because Fournette got COVID. Okay, if Fournette gets COVID, the only player I would be able to replace him with would be McNichols because of the spot that he's in. So it's going to be super important for me if I find out a guy gets COVID and I want to start a different position to move them to a flex spot, because whatever position they're sitting in at the end of Tuesday's games, whatever position they're sitting in, we're going to replace them with the highest player possible at that position. So in this case here, he's in the flex. We can replace him with the highest flex player, which would be Shepard. If I put Fournette in the super flex, the highest player we could replace him with if he had COVID would be Jalen Hurts. So on and so forth. Hope that makes sense. Feel free to ask questions. Get a list submitted that looks like this. You can do it one of two ways. If I haven't already said this, you can either take a picture of it and drop it in the group chat, or you can edit the names and they'd look like that. One list. It's the easiest way to do it, and we'll just go down the list and put an appropriate player in your lineup. Hope that makes sense. Thanks.